So these last couple of days, I've been feeling a bit, maybe lost is the word, or not sure what the words are, but the way I've been feeling is a bit like I've not got anything to do. I've not got anything that's challenging me. I've not got anything that's on my mind. I've not got anything that's pushing me. And I kind of want it. You know, the days feel slow, feel a bit meaningless. The days feel like they're just passing by. I guess these last couple of ones, I'm almost can't be bothered to do anything. And I do get in those moods every now and again. Sometimes they come, you know, multiple times in a month or whatever. It depends. And I'll be honest, I've not really been able to get out of it. I've not been, I guess it's probably been all week, but I've had this feeling I've not really been able to change it, to see sense in it. And now what I normally think, let's not yawn, let's not start yawning. What I normally think is that these feelings in these days are necessary. They're necessary because you can't just be up all the time. You can't just, be living life all the time. You can't just be happy all the time. Because happiness is a temporary emotion, and I believe to be happy, you've got to understand it changes, it fluctuates. Happiness isn't a constant state. You can't always be happy. That's what I believe anyway. I believe you do need these sort of lower moments or neutral moments, because they're not extremely low or anything, they're not anything. And sometimes these reset you. Sometimes these balance things out. And for me, I think the weeks like these or days like these, they can remind you of what it feels like not to be up all the time, not to be extremely happy, and for me it reminds me not to chase these sort of things, to not chase the ups, because you're only going to try and beat the last up, and you're going to get yourself in a bit of trouble. For me, I think you're going to start trying to compete with it, and this is where I see that people lead themselves into living lives that they don't actually want to live, or searching an adrenaline rush, searching a dopamine spike. And for me, I don't know, I guess I just have a bit of sense where I'm like, I don't want that. So I've got to understand what's the value in these weeks where it's a bit uninspiring, it's a bit nothing. You're a bit like, well, what are we doing? There's nothing going on. It's a bit of a waiting period. I kind of compare it in my mind to, you're in a waiting room and nothing's happening, nothing's going on, it's a bit boring, nothing's lighting your fire, and it's just a bit necessary sometimes. But what the problem I think sometimes happens with me is it's difficult to come out of that, and then this is a waiting room to either go into another up or go into a low, and it's which door you're going to go through, basically, and how you're going to manage everything. And I don't like these periods of being in the waiting room, because you don't feel like anything. It makes me feel like I'm craving an up, craving something to do, craving the next challenge, which can be good. Like, I don't look at that and say, no, let's not do things that challenge us. I'm just looking at it and saying, don't necessarily chase the next challenge. Don't necessarily sort of, let me try and think what I'm trying to say here. Don't get into a cycle of once, you know, if I pick another challenge to do, if I pick something hard to do, and then accomplish it, and then searching for the next one. Oh, that was great, right, let's one up it, and you're always building and building and building. And I'm kind of caught in between two minds of, that's alright, and that's not what I want to do. Because then you're just living life and you're just almost chasing a carrot on a stick in front of you. And you're never really going to get that final satisfaction. Like, but then on the other hand, I'm like, whoa, are you enjoying life? Are you living life? Does it feel good? And that's where my conclusion kind of comes to, that both are fine, both are necessary. You know, the longer this waiting room period is, this feeling of nothing, it resets, for me it sort of resets me and says, the next challenge can be felt better, you can feel everything about it better. You don't have to run through it with your eyes closed. You don't have to crave a spike, almost. You can sort of, let's think, it's quite hard to explain the feelings with all this. I'm thinking like both are necessary, because you need the waiting room period, and you need to be challenging yourself, and you need the low periods to feel it all. You know, because if you're in a constant state of a high, you get used to it. And it's now not a high, and then you're seeking for even higher highs. You know, that's what I see with people who do drugs. It's okay, that drug gives you a high, and then the next time you do it, you need more to give you the same high, and then the next time, obviously over a longer period of time, the next time, and the next time, you're doing it more and more, and then, you know, it's ruining your life. You're spending so much money on this. You know, you see people get into holes, and you see people ruin their lives over it. So I'm like, if that applies with that, does it apply in other areas in life where you're just searching for the next high, for the next great feeling, rather than actually also sitting in this feeling of nothing? You know, is the feeling of nothing kind of necessary to feel things properly and to feel things right? I have just cut in front of someone. That was not good. Oops. But yeah, are these necessary to reset you and to make you feel balanced again? So you're not chasing. You know, the person that can sit in all, for me, in my mind, the person that can sit in all situations and almost be content and be at peace is the person that's sort of doing life, I say doing life the best, but then again, either way, if you're going up and down and you're experiencing a lot, that's also kind of fine as well. Because I don't know if I think I spoke about this before in a video. You know, my whole belief about life is just, the point is to exist, and it doesn't necessarily matter what you're doing, because either way you're sort of feeling and doing life. You're sort of experiencing everything, whether it's good or bad, you're on drugs or you're not on drugs, your life goes to shit or not. You know, at the end of the day, if you come up and out of that hole, at your lowest points or whatever, that's also what life's about. It's about just existing and going through everything that life almost has to offer. So, you know, on one hand I'm like, peace is pretty good. It's a pretty good feeling. And then on the other hand it's like, well, up and down. Well, your ups and downs are also pretty good feeling as a whole. So I think it's balancing which ones you want to dip into, I guess. Sometimes you might want peace, sometimes you might want your up and downs, your challenges and stuff like that. But for me, it never feels comfortable. That's the word. It never feels comfortable sitting in this waiting room and almost looking around, and I've got this almost anxious thought in my head of, are we doing this right? Are we doing this right? Is it okay just to be sat here and having almost a normal week, having nothing happening, almost sat here and being a bit bored? That thought in my head's going, no, you got to do something. No, you got to do something. You got to do something. You don't want to waste your time. You know, you've got limited amount of time in this life. You want to be doing something. And then the other voice is saying, but it's also okay to not do something. It's also okay to not be chasing after something sometimes. And that's sort of the battle I don't know if it's a battle. Battle's a strong word, but that's the conversation that's happening in my head and the feelings I'm getting. Obviously they're not too deep, they're not too stressful, but sometimes if you go for it for, you know, a week or 2 weeks, it gets a bit psychotic almost. It gets a bit much. They'd be like, all right, okay, can we shut these thoughts off almost? And it was only till this morning that I thought, you know, how do we deal with this feeling of almost no meaning in your days? For me, you know, when you don't want to almost put meaning into your days, when you don't want to be challenging things, doing challenging things all the time and chasing that next high, it's like, what's the answer? Because you don't want to be chasing the high, but you also don't want to be sat here with no meaning and stuff. You don't want to be sat here and not using your time wisely. You know, there's this paradox between the two. And this morning I thought, you know what the answer is? The answer is just man up. Man up and get on with it. And I know that's not always the answer all the time for everything. But at the end of the day, Jesus Christ, some people driving, honestly. Well, but yeah, at the end of the day, man up. At the end of the day, shut up. Look at your life. Look at what you've got. Look what's actually happening in your life. There's no need to be feeling down or feeling a negative that nothing's happening. It's like, you've got it. You've got life. Your life's pretty perfect. Your life's sort of easy, completely easy. Look at the world we live in. You know, we've not got any major struggles. You've got different events that are happening. I mean, right now in Florida, you've got a bloody hurricane happening and tragedies going on and people losing their homes and floods and, you know what I mean? People are stranded. People are going to be absolutely terrified right now. And you're sat here thinking, I don't know whether to challenge myself or sit here with no meaning. And it's like, they're almost pointless thoughts that when you get bored, you sat here thinking about. Like you have to, like something has to be happening. And at the end of the day, it's just all about man up, shut up, and get on with it. Because there's nothing going on. There's nothing wrong. And like I said, That's not always the answer. The answer isn't always man up, tough through it. From someone who has done that, from someone who's kept quiet, for someone who's just got on with things. And that's kind of my natural way of being. I just want to get on with it. Well, you know, that doesn't always benefit you. Doesn't benefit everyone. Some people can do that all their life, some people can't. And I know it's not healthy for me to do that all the time when things get serious. But when things aren't serious, when there is no issue, when there is nothing, and you almost your own head's making it up and forcing an issue because life's neutral, nothing's going on, you just got to tell your mind to shut the fuck up. You just got to say, listen, look around at what you've got. You know, that's what I was thinking this morning. I'm like, I've got a Friday off. I'm working 4 days a week. I've got a Friday off. I've just been and had a massage. What a privileged white fucking lad you are. And you sat here and you're feeling sorry for yourself. It's like, shut up and get on with it, because there's nothing going wrong. You just, like I said, you're just feeling sorry for yourself, and you're just privileged, and get on with it, because there's nothing wrong. And when you recognise you can do that to yourself and it's in a healthy way, it's completely fine. Again, not going to work for everyone in everyone else's situation, whatever it is. But for me right now, it's like, get on with it. And as soon as that came into my mind, I'm like smiling to myself. I'm like, what are you on about? Do you know what I mean? Oh, I need a challenge. Oh, wait, up. Do I need to be peaceful, or do I need a challenge and chase the next high? It's like, who gives a fuck? Just live, man. Just carry on living. What you talking about? And it's quite funny, because I was also thinking about, well, I guess what the thoughts that what sparked that thought was, I was thinking about the UFC fighter Alex Pereira, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, Pereira, whatever, Poatan. And I was watching a video this morning of him, stone cold face, and when he's fighting, stone cold, no emotion. You know what I mean? Almost, in my mind, symbols, you know, a stereotypical man getting on with it. And it's like, yeah, just be that. Could you imagine him sat here moaning about this? No. Like, shut the fuck up, carry on, because nothing's actually wrong. And I think some people who aren't used to that, some people who don't have that in the mind, some people who we'd consider in society as being soft, they don't have that. No one's there to, you know, they don't have their own inner voice to tell themselves that. Whereas I'm lucky, because I have that inner voice to be like, shut the fuck up, carry on, what are you moaning about? Stop being a fucking pussy. Life's perfect, life's great, there's nothing. Tell your mind to shut up. And if you don't have people that have raised you, or you've not been around people that would tell you that, you don't ever have that dialogue with yourself, and you're gonna get a bit too soft. That's the issue with these videos, is sometimes talking's the healthy thing to do. Absolutely. Getting your emotions out there. And then sometimes it's shut up and act. And sometimes it's, no, you don't need to say anything, because you just need to get on with it, because there's nothing wrong. And it's because talking like this on camera and almost moaning, or almost getting your emotions out there and and talking about it. And from the experience I had with ayahuasca that says, you know, you need to do that. You need to let people care for you by, you know, opening up to people. And I also understand doing too much of that is, you know, you need to be slap bang in the middle of it. You don't want to do too much and you don't want to do too little. There's a balance. And right now, in the past week, I've been Jesus. What is it? Friday bad drivers or what? What's going on? Anyway, what was I saying? What was I saying? Yeah. And in the past week, I've been being too soft mentally in my head. It's like, get a grip. And that's completely fine. And this is why I'll always say you've got to know yourself, because you've got to know what voice you got to listen to. You know, I could be, let's imagine I'm going through something really tough. I'm going through something really awful. And one of the things I need is a bit of sympathy, because I'm being too hard on myself. Imagine that situation. Then the answer isn't tell yourself to shut the fuck up. It's, you know, get your life sorted out with it. You know what I mean? Whereas me, that's not what's going on. For me, it's nothing's wrong. So stop building up this fantasy or this thing in your head that something's wrong because nothing's happening or nothing's going on. Like, just live life. And it's funny the different conversations that go on in my head and the different conclusions I come to, and how, you know what I mean, it's took me a week to figure that one out, when at the end of the day, if you was just honest with yourself, or if you were just realistic with yourself, and sometimes a bit tough on yourself. Sometimes it's about being brutally honest, and some people don't have it and some people do have it. Some people have too much of it, some people don't have enough of it, and probably the majority of people these days don't have enough of that brutal sort of answer, that brutal conversation. Because at the end of the day, there's only so many times you can talk about something and complain about something. You know, because I've noticed that I think I filmed a video similar to this maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's too close. You're having these feelings are getting too much and too often in a close period of time. Right, first answer, yeah, let's sit here and talk about it. But because it's happened again so soon, it's like, no, shut the fuck up. And I enjoy that. I enjoy being told that. And I think that's what we need sometimes. You know, the risk is of opening up and talking about your emotions, especially on a camera, or even probably worse to someone, is that the risk of it is someone's going to say, shut up, what you want about, carry on, be tougher. And that's like what you're insecure about. That's what the problem is that arises. You're like, well, no, we won't talk about it because we don't want to be told we're being a pussy. But sometimes it's what we need to be told. You know what I mean? Man up. Whether you're a man or a woman, but sometimes you need to just be told, listen, get a grip and carry on and get on with it. Because look around in the world, you've got wars happening, you've got natural disasters happening, you've got people, you know, living in council estates, you've got people on with drug habits, you've got people who've lost friends and family, and you're sat here thinking, oh, it's not nice that nothing's happening. You know what I mean? It's how ridiculous that actually is. But yeah, anyway, at home now, so Peace.